Okay, so I just completed a 3-day trip of Istanbul and Turkey, and here's my review. I think overall about 2 to 3 days of time is enough to cover most touristy spots in Turkey. If you do about 15,000 steps a day, I think I covered most of the European side and the Asian side in 3 days for about 15k steps a day. So I think if you're planning a trip only for Istanbul within Turkey, I think budgeting for 2 to 3 days is good enough. What's in Turkey? Well, Istanbul specifically, a lot of mosques and a lot of palaces. Most of its history with the Ottoman Empire is associated with the mosques and the palaces. Now, when it comes to mosques and palaces, here's a pro tip: stay away from the ones where you have to pay a lot of money to get in. Especially in my case, Hagia Sophia was about $30 to get in, US dollars. Not as good because it was in scaffoldings and mostly under construction. However, the Blue Mosque, which is not that far away from there, was free, and I guess in my opinion way better and more appealing and aesthetically pleasing to a first-time visitor. So I think stay away from the paid ones until day 3 and do all the free ones and see if you can, if you really want to do the paid ones. That's a pro tip. People, mostly friendly people, about 50% of them who I interacted with speak English or spoke English or understood some type of English. I did use the Translate app a couple of times and I think that came in handy, but in general, about 50% people understand English or converse in English, which makes things easier. What's not good? Well, I noticed that about 80% people in Istanbul, I know it's a Turkey thing, but smoke. They're heavy smokers, they smoke indoors. About 70 to 80% people I noticed, local I'd say, would smoke, men, women, young, old, are people who smoke here. So if you're not used to that, especially indoors, I guess I would recommend you be prepared for a lot of it. Food and shopping, great food, great shish kebabs, great Turkish delights, known for its desserts and it's amazing food. Cost-wise, about 50 to 75% of costs American dollars. So if I pay $10 in California, I'd probably pay $7 or $8 here to get the similar type of food, but good quality food. So cost not that cheap if that's what you have in mind. What's encouraging to see, I saw mostly women being employed by law enforcement, be it security guards, cops, traffic cops, TSA, airport security. That was very encouraging to see that they have so many young women employed in law enforcement, which I've not seen in many countries, honestly. I travel abroad. So that was great to notice. Another pro tip, or a couple of them, exchange rates. I guess the best exchange rates would be found in the markets away from the airport. Definitely do not use the airport departure and arrival terminal for exchanging your dollars, as it's very expensive. Also exchange it in the markets, like Grand Market for example, had a great exchange rate. And get Romic for your 5G internet plan. I got about 5 gigs for 3 days, and I think that was sufficient for about $3. So $3 for 5 days of internet, or 3 days of internet connectivity for 5 gigabytes. I think it's pretty sufficient. So get that. And my final tip, like any tourist place, don't fall prey to tourist traps or scams. Stay vigilant, stay safe. Generally, 3 days was pretty safe and pretty good, besides the one instance where one of my friends was being followed by, I guess, someone who had some mental issues, but besides that, it was all good. So yeah, stay vigilant and stay away from scammers. Other than that, I think Turkey, Istanbul, 3 days is a pretty good trip. I had a great time and I might come back again. I would rate this 7 out of 10 based on my experience overall. 7 out of 10 for Istanbul, Turkey. Alright, see you guys.